Very pleasant morning to all those who are seated in front of me. I'm Smita, PGT English of JNB Palakkad. Today, you and I will be delving deep into one of the poems mentioned in the Flamingo textbook. Before that, I want you to look at the slide which is projected on the screen. What do you see? Yes, you see the love that is being shared between a mother and a daughter. Am I right? It is not just love, they also share a special bond that has seen laughter, worries, smiles, tears, success, and failures together. They say the most beautiful bond that exists in the world today is between a mother and a baby. But if the baby is a daughter, wow, it's like an icing on the cake. Am I right? Today, let us talk about one of the poems that is being mentioned in the Flamingo textbook, My Mother at 66. Along with Kamla Das, let's take a journey to know what she has to say about her bonding with her mother. Before we move on to the understanding and appreciation of the poem, let's take a look at the poet Kamla Das. Kamla Das was born in 1934 in Thrissur to a well-known Malayali poetess Balamani Amma and V.M. Nair, a leading editor of a national daily. She took to writing at a very young age. Most of her works dealt with love, betrayal, and the anguish associated with it. At the age of 42, she wrote a daring novel, My Story, wherein she explored a woman's desire for self-expression and freedom. She has been a recipient of innumerable awards. To name a few, Kerala Sahitya Academy Award, Vailar Award, Ezhuthachan Puraskaram, and was also nominated and shortlisted for the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1984. During the last phase of her life, Kamla Das converted to Islam and assumed the name Kamala Suraya. My Mother at 66 by Kamla Das is a very touching, emotional and a confessional poem wherein she has explored the bond between a mother and a daughter and also the sensational separation. The theme of the poem also includes aging. We all know that with aging comes disease, decay and death. It also deals with the fear of loss and the agony of separation from your loved and near ones. We always end up being guilty for not being there for our parents during the last stages of their life. All these emotions make us nostalgic when we think of our mother. Now, listen to the poem carefully, and I want you to notice that the poem is written in a single sentence punctuated by commas.
My Mother at 66 by Kamla Das. Driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning, the merry children spilling out of the
I'm sure all of you must have listened to the poem carefully, and you too must have noticed that the entire poem is written in a single sentence punctuated by commas. It only indicates a single thread of thought that has a beautiful mixture of emotions ranging from love, pain, loss, separation, and also nostalgia. It is written in a free verse and has got no rhyme pattern at all. It's got a striking imagery and the tone of the poem is sad. The most beautiful aspect of this poem is that it has got a sense of movement. Right from the first line onwards, all of us are on the move. Now let's take a look at this poem carefully. I have divided the poem into 4 different parts for easy understanding and comprehension. Right? Okay. Now I'll read the first part of the sentence and then I'll be asking you questions for which I need you to respond. Driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning, I saw my mother beside me, doors open mouth, her face ashen like that of a corpse, and realized with pain. Where was the poet driving to? Yes, the poet was driving to Cochin Airport. Where was she coming from? She was coming from her parents' home. Who was seated beside her in the car? It's a mother who was 66 years old. How did her mother look like? Yeah, she looked dull. She was dozing. Dozing means having a very light nap with an open mouth, and her face was ashen like that of a corpse. She almost felt that her mother was very close to death because she's already aged. Am I right? She's already 66 years old. So the poet felt that her mother has almost reached the last phase of her life. That means she is going to die very soon. And that is why the poet has compared her mother's face to that of a corpse. And what did she? That she was as old as she looked, but soon put that thought away and looked out at young trees sprinting, the merry children spilling out of their homes. What did she realize with pain? Yes, she realized that her mother has become too old. Once you become old, the very next stage of your life is death. Am I right? So she wanted to put this thought away. What thought away? The thought that her mother is going to die or that she's going to get separated from her mother. This thought she put away and looked outside the car. What did she find when she looked outside? Yes, the young trees were sprinting and the merry children were spilling out of their homes. A total contrast to the dull, lifeless and passive life of her mother. Let's look at the third part of the poem. But after the airport security check, standing a few yards away, I looked again at her, wan, pale as a late winter's moon. Where has the poet reached now? Yes, the poet has reached the Cochin airport. And after the security clearance, she turns to see her mother, to bid a farewell or to bid a goodbye to her mother. What does she notice once again when she turns? Yes, she found her mother wan. Wan means so dull, so weak, and also pale as a late winter's moon. Now, the mother's face is compared to a late winter moon. Look at the image here. You can see the image of a moon during a late winter night. Is the moon very clear to you? Not at all. It looks foggy and misty. It also looks dull, pale, as if it has lost all its brightness. In the same way, the mother also looks dull, devoid of any brightness of youth. We also know that winter is the last cycle of the season. Similarly, the mother has also reached the last phase of her life. The last part of the poem, I want you to listen with great attention here. And fell that old familiar ache, my childhood's fear, but all I said was, see you soon, Amma. All I did was smile and smile and smile. Okay, what is the childhood fear we all have? Yes, it's the fear of losing our parents. The fear of losing our dear ones, am I right? The loved ones. It is this great fear which is haunting the poet throughout the journey because her mother has reached the last stage of her life, and it is a reality which she is finding it very hard to accept because she knows very well when you get old, separation and death becomes unavoidable, right? The reality that she would lose her mother very soon to death is quite hard for her to accept. In the last line of the poem, when she is bidding farewell to her mother, you can see her saying, see you soon, Amma. All I did was smile and smile and smile. Why did she say, see you soon, Amma, in spite of knowing that she might lose her mother very soon? Yeah, it was a way of reassuring herself as well as her mother that they would meet when she comes to Cochin the next time. She was also trying to hide her true feelings for her mother. She was trying to put up a brave front. Is that clear? You can see her silent tears, but a smile on the face. It was a smile that comforted her mother when she said goodbye to her daughter. So the poem ends on an optimistic note. The entire poem is written in a single sentence, but the poet Kamla Das has interspersed figures of speech to make us appreciate its lyrical beauty. Now let us look at the first figure of speech that has been used in this poem. The first one is personification. What do you mean by personification? Yes, when you bestow human qualities on something that is not human, we call that figure of speech as personification, right? Yes. Now look at the phrase here or the words here. Trees sprinting. What does it signify? Yeah, it signifies the passage of time. Am I right? It also signifies the vibrant energy that is residing in the youth. She imagines the trees to be someone who is running along with her in the who is running while she is driving along with her while she is driving the car. Right? Okay. Now let's go to the second one. Simile. Simile is a comparison made with the usage of words like as and as well as like. Now, what's the two simile that is being used in this poem? A face ashen like that of a corpse, and the other one is wan, pale as a late winter's moon. Here the face is compared to a dead body, and again the face is compared to a pale winter moon. The other figure of speech is anaphora or the repetition. Look at the last line which keeps repeating. It's only to have a poetic effort that the poet has used those words. Smile and smile and smile. I've already told you that the poem is interspersed with lot of poetical devices. Am I right? Now the next one is contrast. Inside the car, a comparison and contrast is made. Inside the car you find a dull, gloomy and lifeless picture or a passive picture of a mother. Whereas outside, it is an utter contrast, wherein you find the trees sprinting and the children spilling out of their homes. Clear? That is one image of comparison and contrast. The other one is the poet smiles, but She is hiding her true feelings. She is putting up a brave front by smiling when she says goodbye to her mother. So one is the contrast of her feelings. Am I right? What she shows and what she feels is a contrast. And the other one is the image inside the car and the image outside the car. You also have a striking imagery that is being used. Now, when the poet is driving the car, she could see the trees sprinting. The image is quite evidently clear in your mind. You can see the young trees sprinting and the merry children spilling. Now, what is the message that the poet wishes to convey through this poem? The message is for the youth of today. What is happening in the present urban world? We are all in a rush. Am I right? We are all in a mad race for comforts, for a better lifestyle. Am I right? To earn more money. And we believe that this race for life will keep us happy. But what happens is we get so busy in our life that we fail to fulfill our we fail to fulfill our responsibilities. Am I right? We somehow tend to neglect taking care of our parents when they need you the most. During the last phase, you are away from them. Rather than being with them and being supportive to them, we always move away from them. Is that clear? So this sense of guilt is beautifully inbuilt in the entire lines when you're reading the poem. Right? That's all for today. Now let's have a quick recap of what we need to understand after you have read this poem. Yes. Where was the poet going? The poet was going to Cochin Airport. Where was she coming from? She was coming from her parents' home. When did she start her journey from her parents' home? On a Friday morning. Why do you think she's taking this journey? We didn't discuss about this earlier. Why do you think she's taking this journey? Yes, probably she's taking this journey to go to her husband's house, or it could also be to her workplace. Now, the next one is about the appearance of her mother. Tell me about the appearance of her mother. Yes, she looks wan, pale, dull, dozing, open mouth, pale as a late winter moon, am I right? Dull. Face ashen like that of a corpse. Yes? Alright. Now this is the image that you get of a mother. Now, what's the scene outside the car? When the poet wants to put her thought away, what does she see outside the car? Yeah, she sees the trees sprinting, the merry children spilling out of their homes, and what's the scene when she looks inside the car? Her mother looks as pale as a late winter moon, and her face resembled that of a dead corpse. Now, what is the feeling of the poet for her mother when she is bidding farewell? Yes. What the feeling generated here? The fear of separation, the childhood fear of losing her mother. Alright, then the sense of guilt for not being there when they need you the most, and then her helplessness. These are the feelings of the poet when she says goodbye to her mother. Now, what does the parting words symbolize? See you soon, Amma. Yeah, it's a realization that her mother is no longer going to be alive for a long period. Her end is very near. Am I right? Again, she smiles, putting up a brave front. She's hiding her true feelings. And she's also giving a reassurance to her parents, to her mother, that everything is going to be okay. We will be meeting soon. I'm sure by now you got to understand the poem and even appreciate the lyrical beauty, though it is written in a free verse with no rhyme pattern at all. Before we wind up, I want you to go through the poem so that you comprehend it better to attempt the questions which are given in the question bank. So see you later. Be safe and take care. Bye.